Hi, this is Dr. Bill here. Welcome to our next newsletter, obviously in video format. And I want to talk to you today about how a little known secret on how to increase your energy. Very simple, but often overlooked by many people. And I've known about this for a long time, but I've only recently, maybe the last 6 months, been using it in my own life. Let me just say that I do lots of things to maintain my health and my fitness. Try not to be fanatical because life has many other pleasures and interests and responsibilities and time constraints, but my health and my fitness is very important to me. And when you're at a good level, sometimes it's difficult to notice whether something is actually helping you or not. So when something does, it's very profound and very valuable. And so I noticed a significant shift in my energy levels and in my needing less sleep when I practiced these deep breathing exercises. Many years ago, about 40 years ago, I was in India for 6 weeks in my 20s. And I picked up this book, and it was second hand when I bought it in India. And the book is simply called Mental Powers. And when I got the book, it was, as I said, second hand. I think the printing is quite early. You can see it's falling apart. It's the only book I've read let me just say, most books I skim through and I read in part. I very rarely read a book from cover to cover. It's even more rare for me to read a book twice. I've probably read this cover to cover 4 times. It sits on my bookshelf, and every time I think I want to get motivated or inspired, I'll read this book. The book actually is copyright 1963, so that makes it 50 years from when we did it, and the price was 15 rupees. Now, a rupee when I was in India was worth about 10 cents. So the book cost about $1.50. What he does in the book is he compiles a lot of other books by other authors and puts a little segment into the book. He talks about all of the amazing things that some of the gurus and the yogis and the people in India were able to do with their bodies. Withstand pain, be buried alive, lies on beds of nails, all sorts of different things, healing. And he describes in this book a lot of these things, documents them, a documentation. And he talks about other books, many of them by medical doctors, who have also documented these wonderful miracles and healings that can occur and things you can do with your body. So you can see it kind of excites me and inspires me. But one of the things that it talks about here is how to actually develop these powers, and by using your mind but also using your breathing. And you may be aware, you should be, that there are a number of disciplines or systems that utilize breathing a lot. Yoga is one of them, of course. Qigong is another one. Tai Chi. So that's just to name a couple. They all utilize breathing. And although we're all aware of that, we don't realize the power of the breath or the air that we breathe in. I mentioned in a previous, just before I mention that, these are some of the books that he actually mentioned. Now these look pretty new, don't they, compared to that one? The reason these are a reprint. Copyright expires after a certain period of time. It might be about 70 years, but I'm only guessing. But after a certain period of time, a book can be copied. There's no more copyright on it after a certain period of time. It might be about 70 years. So these are actually reprints of very old books, authors that are now long dead. So I've got a number of these, and I actually got the references for the books from this book here. And what they do is they talk about a number of things, but they talk about breathing. And I wanted to share the importance of breathing with you. As I was saying a moment ago, obviously we breathe to bring in oxygen into the body. And oxygen, obviously, we die within minutes if we didn't have enough oxygen. So the oxygen we need to be able to burn our fuel to create energy for the body. Interesting that there's no reserve there for that, although some people can defy the odds. Some people can be drowned and not breathing for a while, and there's no brain damage, and they're fine. So, but we should know how important it is for oxygen, because oxygen provides the energy for every cell in the body. Oxygen also helps to destroy pathogens and cancer cells. So oxygen has a number of uses. So when we practice deep breathing and when we exercise to our maximum for our lung capacity, we increase the power of the lungs to bring in oxygen into the body. So even when we're not thinking about it or when we're not exercising, our lungs are working more efficiently. And as I also mentioned in a previous newsletter video, how our lung capacity is an indicator of our likelihood of getting a heart attack. So when the lung capacity decreases, our chance of getting a heart attack is increased. Our lung capacity does decrease as we get older, but you can beat the odds if you do maximum exertion with your exercise, such as the Peak 8 or the IVI, intense varied interval training, which we've mentioned before. So with the oxygen, it has many uses, but I want to talk more about air. Now, it is believed that when you breathe in air, which contains oxygen, air also contains energy. Now, when I use the word energy, I realize that energy is a very nondescript term. If you go on the internet and you type in energy, what you'll get is all the electricity companies. And as you know, in Australia, there is a name of the company that supplies our energy or our power is Energy Australia. Interesting. So energy has many, many forms and many types of descriptions. So when I use the term energy, just be aware that I'm talking about a certain type of energy. Now, the Asians call it chi, the Indians call it prana, so it has different names, but the air contains this energy. So when you're doing proper breathing, your body's able to absorb that prana or that chi from the air you breathe. There are many different systems of breathing. One is where you take a deep breath in, you hold it for a certain length of time, then you breathe out for a certain length of time, then you hold that breath out for a certain length of time, then you breathe in again for a certain length of time. Hold it for a certain length of time, breathe out for a certain length of time, hold it out for a certain length of time. And so it can get a little bit tricky and a little bit complicated. What I do, and I'm only going to share with you what I do, and I found it to be successful. I always like to try and simplify things so I'm getting the most from the least. That's how I like to work. So what I do is I find a place where I can be undisturbed. Usually I go outside on the lawn because you can actually get energy from the ground. If the sun's not too hot, I'll try and have part of my body in the sun, because again you get energy from the sun. So again, I'm maximizing the energy absorption from the ground and from the sun. So I have my hands and my bare feet on the grass with my knees bent. So I get in a comfortable position, something supporting my head, something over my eyes to darken my vision so I can concentrate more. And what I do is I do a number of deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, to warm up my lungs and get them stretched, get them ready. Then when I feel I'm ready, I take a deep breath in and I hold it for as long as I can. Then I breathe out and I expel all the air as much as I can, and I don't hold that because I find that that's difficult. So I just take a deep breath in, and normally when you breathe in you should push your ribs out from the side and the back. When you learn to sing, they teach you to push your ribs out from the back and from the side so you can get as much air into the instrument as possible. So the idea is to breathe, to push your diaphragm down as you breathe in. As you push your diaphragm down, the ribs will go out at the sides and the back. So you breathe in, your diaphragm goes down. Sometimes to start, to get the idea, you can push your stomach out as you breathe in. Now most people in the clinic, and I teach them different exercises, I say to them, okay, breathe in and immediately their stomach goes in as they breathe in. You might just want to try that. Just take a deep breath in, see what your stomach does. Does your stomach go in or out as you take a deep breath in? It must at least go out to start with, so you know you're doing it properly. Because when your stomach goes out, it means you're really pushing your diaphragm down. If you try to breathe in, your stomach goes in, your diaphragm goes up. So it's your diaphragm, like a bellows, that pulls down your lungs. So just to get used to the idea, you can start by pushing your stomach out as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, your stomach goes in. Think about it. Practice it. As you breathe in, your stomach goes out. As you breathe out, your stomach goes in. Simple. Do that little practice. So by employing that method and taking a deep breath in, you suck not only the oxygen into your body, but the air and the prana or the chi comes into your body, and you draw it right in to your system. And then when you hold it for as long as you can, that allows the body then the opportunity to absorb the prana or the chi. So what I do, I try to center it at what they call the solar plexus, or just where your rib cage comes to a V up here. I try to draw it all into there, and then as I'm holding it, I try to focus on the energy going up into my brain. Then as I breathe out, I imagine the energy's going down from my brain, down my spinal cord, out through all the nerves to all parts of my body. So let me just quickly repeat that. I'm lying preferably outside on the grass, hands and feet on the grass, bare feet. I have something over my eyes. I'm very comfortable, usually something under my neck, something perhaps a towel on the grass to protect me from the grass. And I take a deep breath in. I do my 10 deep breaths to get ready or whatever. Take a deep breath in, hold as long as I can, then I breathe out. And as I'm doing that, as I breathe in, I draw the air and the energy into my solar plexus. And then as I'm holding the breath, I draw the energy from there up into my brain. Then as I breathe out, I send the energy down from my spinal cord out to my nerves. And I find once I've done that for about 10 minutes, my body starts to shake. Actually vibrates. Just shakes almost uncontrollably, because I feel the energy's just bursting through my body. It might take you a little while to get to that point, but it's quite incredible when that happens. And what I found by doing that, and I was doing it for about 10 minutes every day, that I had more energy, that I slept less, and people were commenting on that because my patients come in all the time and see me, and sometimes, after you've been working for 5 or 6 hours straight, you sag a bit, and I don't just mean from age, but you sag, your energy drains because you're giving out all the time. But very big, you're very busy mentally, emotionally, physically. You're putting it out, and we see a lot of patients, and you're giving out, and sometimes patients are emotional. So it's a big drain, and people come in and say, you're looking really well, and that's really nice because they only see me every so often. So it's nice when you get that feedback. But what's more important is how you feel about about yourself. So I would highly recommend that. Yeah, okay, it's more time that you've got to give, but really what it does, I believe, is it, in a sense, gives you time because you're able to do more. You need less sleep, you're able to get more done in the same amount of time. So it might seem like sacrifice, but really it isn't. It's an investment. It repays you. So if you practice that, ideally every day, but if you can't do it every day, do it 3 times a week. But I can highly recommend that. Now, what I also do is I work on activating my chakras at the same time. I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about that in another newsletter that we have, but just to whet your appetite, that you can add to that. Now, I realise this all may sound very metaphysical, and for some of you, you might say, oh, you might have already, no, you wouldn't have already turned off, but you may have already turned off mentally, because you might think it's a bit way out and it's just not you. It's maybe not scientific enough for you, but I promise you, if you do it, you will notice the difference. There's nothing more scientific than actually being able to observe results. So I highly recommend it, and I will talk about the chakras another time. And again, this is Dr. Bill wishing you health and happiness. Thank you. See you soon.